Imagine winning a brutal war and then marrying the daughter of your sworn enemy. Sounds like a scene from a Game of Thrones episode, right? But this story isn't fantasy, it's real history. In the early 15th century, two great kingdoms, England and France, were locked in a bloody conflict that would rage on for over 100 years. And in the middle of that chaos stood King Henry V of England, warrior, conqueror, and surprisingly, romantic diplomat. Henry V wasn't your average medieval monarch. He came to the English throne in 1413, and from the very start, he had one goal: to reclaim what he believed was his rightful inheritance, the French crown. You see, for generations, English kings had claimed that they were the rightful rulers of France. The French naturally disagreed. So began a long, drawn-out family feud that historians now call the 100 Years' War. In 1415, Henry launched a campaign in France that would make him a legend. After a grueling march through enemy territory, with disease and starvation thinning his ranks, he faced the French at the Battle of Agincourt. Outnumbered, outarmed, and exhausted, Henry's army somehow crushed the French knights in one of the most famous upsets in military history. His victory echoed through Europe. Suddenly, the English weren't just annoying invaders. They were real contenders for the French throne. France, meanwhile, was falling apart. Its king, Charles VI, was mentally unstable, suffering from bouts of insanity so severe he sometimes believed he was made of glass. The French court was split into factions, and the country was spiraling into civil war. In the middle of this chaos stood the young Catherine of Valois, Charles VI's daughter. She was royal, beautiful, and a powerful pawn in the political chessboard of Europe. Henry knew that winning battles wasn't enough. To secure his claim to France, he needed something more permanent, something that couldn't be undone by the next war. He needed a royal marriage. And Catherine, she was the key. But this wasn't a love story, at least not at first. It was politics, pure and cold. Henry demanded not just Catherine's hand, but the entire French crown as her dowry. In 1420, after years of war and pressure, the Treaty of Troyes was signed. The terms were shocking. Henry would marry Catherine of Valois, and upon Charles VI's death, Henry, not Charles's own son, would inherit the French throne. It was an extraordinary moment. A king marrying the daughter of his enemy to become the ruler of both England and France. For a brief moment in history, it looked like the two old rivals might actually unite under one crown. The wedding took place in June 1420. Henry and Catherine were married at Troyes Cathedral. There are whispers that, in time, they grew to genuinely care for each other. After the ceremony, Catherine traveled with Henry through France, accompanying him in his new role as heir to the French kingdom. For a while, it seemed like peace, however fragile, was finally within reach. But fate had other plans. In 1421, Catherine gave birth to a son, Henry VI, a future king of both England and France. But just months later, Henry V returned to the battlefield and caught dysentery during the Siege of Meaux. He died in August 1422 at just 35 years old. Weeks later, Charles VI also died, and just like that, the dream of uniting England and France was left in the hands of a baby. Catherine, now a young widow, faded from the political spotlight. She was forbidden from remarrying without the king's permission, a rule that didn't stop her from secretly falling in love with a Welsh courtier named Owen Tudor. Their secret romance would eventually give rise to the Tudor dynasty. Yes, those Tudors, Henry VII, Henry VIII, and Elizabeth I. As for her son, Henry VI, he did become king of both England and France, but he was never the leader his father was. The French rose up, led by a teenage girl named Joan of Arc, and by the time Henry VI came of age, most of France had slipped from English control. The union Henry V had fought and died for unraveled in a matter of years. But the marriage of Henry V and Catherine of Valois still echoes through history. It was a moment when love, or at least diplomacy, briefly triumphed over bloodshed. A king married the daughter of his enemy, and for a fleeting moment, peace seemed possible. It was a bold move, a strategic gamble, and a union that shaped the course of English and French history for generations. Because sometimes to win a war, you marry your enemy.